What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. As a short recap for the last part, we left off with the end of the Saiyan saga and the defeat of Vegeta. While Nappa was actually able to be killed, they needed to be a little bit more creative for Vegeta, and thankfully Roshi was there to save the day. The Mafuba did the trick and Vegeta was sealed away for good. The Saiyan saga went way better than normal. No one on the team actually ended up dying, and by extension, they don't even need to go to Namek. Overall, it's a great win, and life went back to normal for a bit. And for this video, let's see if we can hit 2,500 likes as the light goal. With that recap out of the way, we can continue on with this new part. With the Earth saved, life goes on like normal. This peacetime means a few things happen in terms of families. For one, Goku and Chi-Chi have another kid earlier, with him of course being named Goten. And as for Bulma and Yamcha, if you remember in the last part I also had them together. And after some time passes, around age 764, they actually have a kid named Trunks, but it isn't the Trunks that you're thinking of. I mean, I guess he technically is, but since Yamcha's his father, he's fully human and he's going to be completely different once he's grown up. So really he's just Trunks in name only. And everyone's family lives seem to be going pretty well. No alien invaders have come to Earth and everything's been going pretty smoothly. However, a new character shows up in age 764. Actually, I lied, it's 3 people. Each member of the Dragon Team senses 3 new key signatures nearby, and they decide to head to where it is to see what's going on. They can't tell who these signatures belong to, but they seem oddly familiar. But they don't really know why it seems familiar. Funny enough, those key signatures were also searching for Goku, so it makes it easier that he came to them. The team arrives and they see 3 people there. They look weirdly familiar, and for a good reason. They decide to introduce themselves: Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. Wait, what? Like those 2 babies? And Gohan? Why are they old? They obviously aren't lying because they look so similar, but how come there's an older version of each of these 3? Simple, they're from the future. So normally in my videos I like to keep Trunks' timeline the same, and I usually wouldn't change up anything. However, for this what if, I feel like it would be more interesting if I did it where I did change the future. A timeline in which all the events of this story happened. So let's give a brief recap of the future timeline. Around age 766 like normal, Goku gets the heart virus and then ends up dying. Due to it being of natural causes, he can't be revived, so he's gone for good. This all around shocks everyone, and it creates a pretty bad situation for the Sun family, since now Gohan and Goten don't have Goku around. Especially with Goten being so young, Roshi decides that he kinda wants to help out the Sun family. Gohan is his student after all, and he wants to honor Goku, his former student. After all the things Goku has done for everyone else, this is the least he can do. Without Goku around, Gohan's Master Roshi and his uncle Krillin basically act as his only father figures, being there for the family whenever they need, and also training Gohan still, even though he's kinda keeping up with the studies now. They form a much closer bond than before. If things weren't bad enough, they're about to get worse. Around age 767, the androids end up appearing. So you're probably thinking right now, okay, everyone's dead, there's no way they're going to survive the androids. Well, there is a chance. Since everyone would be much weaker than the normal timeline in canon, the androids would have the data of those people, not the canon characters. So yeah, they're much stronger than the Dragon Team, but they're proportionate to the amount of strength that the androids had in comparison to the regular Dragon Team in canon. Since that's a little confusing, here's a little example. Just throwing out a random number, let's say the androids are 100 times stronger than Super Saiyan Goku in canon. So here they'd be 100 times stronger than Goku in here. That's not an actual number by the way, I'm just using it for example's sake. So they're still strong, but in proportion to how strong they were in comparison to the regular Dragon Team. Which means there would still be a shot at survivability, and that's what happens to a few of the people. One of the worst days in particular comes when they're fighting the androids. The entire Dragon Team is there trying to face off against them and trying to defeat them. This does not go as well as they thought though. Pretty much all the Dragon Team dies. Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Piccolo, with some of the last fighters being Roshi, Krillin, and Gohan. The androids make their final charge, attempting to kill the last 3 survivors. They know no one stands a chance, but they can at least try and save someone. Apologizing for having to hurt his student, Roshi grabs Gohan and flings him out of the way, causing him and Krillin to take the blast head on. The androids think their work is done here. They killed everyone and they think that Gohan's dead. So with this success, they make their leave. Gohan was knocked unconscious temporarily, but overall he's pretty fine. He goes over to see the destruction that happened and what happened while he was unconscious. And this is where every last bit of hope shatters for him. First, his father died from the heart virus. Then the androids killed his friends and training partners, Tenshinhan, Piccolo, and Yamcha. And the final straw to break the camel's back, his uncle Krillin and his master Roshi, who not only died, but died sacrificing themselves to save Gohan. All the frustration and sadness finally gets to Gohan. It boils up inside him and then eventually bursts. His ki dramatically rises, and an odd sensation comes over him. He screams, and after a brief explosion of power, something changes in him. He's surrounded by a gold aura, and he feels stronger. Caught up in his rage and sadness, he doesn't even realize it at first, but then he notices he had some sort of physical change. In the broken glass of one of the buildings nearby, he looks at the glass and sees his reflection. His eyes are blue, his hair is gold. He barely recognizes himself. On top of all the emotion he felt before, he's terrified now because he doesn't know what's happened to him. He's become a Super Saiyan, but he doesn't know it. Because in this scenario, no one's become a Super Saiyan before him and he hasn't even heard about it. He's actually the first Super Saiyan. So understandably, he's heavily confused and doesn't know what happened to him. And while he's scared about the transformation, he senses the power that it causes inside of him. He feels strong. He heads back home to deliver the news of what happened, and he tries to maintain whatever technique this is, but due to all the fatigue from battle, he eventually ends up losing it. Sadly, he has to deliver the news to everyone that all the Dragon Team has died, which includes telling Bulma that her husband is dead. And with no Piccolo, there's no Kami and no Dragon Balls either. But even with all the darkness from that situation, with Gohan thinking that everything was lost, there is a bit of hope. Whatever golden-haired form he had, he wants to see if he could try and emulate it again and obtain it, remembering the sensation and seeing if he could try and copy it again. Maybe that's the key to defeating the androids. Life goes on over the next few years while the androids rampage. The only survivors are Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Chi-Chi, and Bulma. Well, if we're going by Super, I guess Yajirobe too, but he's gonna hide out like normal. Anyways, time keeps going on and eventually the three kids grow up. Gohan does end up accessing this form. Not knowing that it's Super Saiyan, he just calls it Super Gohan because he doesn't know what else to refer to it as. Just a form that makes him super, and might even be exclusive to him for all he knows. Over this time period, he begins training Goten, who's heard stories about his father, and knows that his brother is a fighter, and he wants to try and be like him. Of course, Gohan will train him, teaching him everything he learned from Goku, Krillin, and Roshi. Sadly, he wasn't blessed with BS Saiyan genes, but Trunks does want to help. They don't even really know how vast the difference is between humans and Saiyans, but even if they did, Trunks willing to help would be welcomed. Bulma doesn't really want her son to become a fighter and lose him alongside Yamcha, but she can't stop it and Trunks does end up training with Gohan and Goten. No one really knows what to do against the androids. They get a lot stronger over this time period, but they don't know if it's enough. They're going to keep training, but Gohan's not really wholly confident that they're going to end up being able to do it. As a failsafe, Bulma starts working on some project to travel back in time to see if that will help alleviate the situation. So she starts working on the time machine a bit earlier. With all this still happening, Gohan decides to try and train Goten and Trunks. He thinks through every possible theory, and where this transformation could have come from, and he comes up with a few possibilities, the least likely of which is that this is a human form, which he could access since he's half human. The two other scenarios are more likely. It could either be a form exclusive to hybrid Saiyans, or just Saiyans in general. And in that case it would make sense since he was the first one to ever do it. Otherwise he probably would have heard about it before. So maybe, just maybe, he can't get Trunks to learn this form, but Goten probably can learn it himself. While he trains the two of them, he begins trying to see if Goten can do it himself. But he can't really find a way for him to do it. Gohan himself barely knows how the form works, he can only really use it himself. And the most he can do is really just describe the sensation of transforming into one, and how he did so out of anger and sadness. Kinda like with future Trunks in the main story, this doesn't really work and Goten isn't able to access it at first. More time passes and even with all their training, they're still no match for the androids. We eventually arrive to around age 781. Bulma started working on the time machine earlier on, and now she's finished with it. They decide, why not, and try and head back in time to see if that will help solve the situation. The plan is to head back with a cure for Goku's heart virus, as well as warning them about the androids in the future. Also, while they're there, they can ask everyone about this form that Gohan has and see if they could find out any more about it. While it does seem kinda crazy, they kinda wanna go release Vegeta in the past too. They would have done so here so they could have an extra fighter and possibly find out an explanation for the form that Gohan has, but since Kami died, they have no way of finding where Vegeta's capsule is. So he is still sealed away somewhere in the future, but no one knows where. He's probably their best source of information, if not using Shenron. With the preparation set, the three of them step into the time machine and then head back to the past timeline. Just to simplify everything a little bit, here's the two timelines side by side with each respective age for when the events happened. Age 763, Goten was born, and with age 764, Trunks was born, and this is when the future warriors show up in the present timeline, 3 years before the androids arrive. In the future timeline, everything is the same up until age 766 when Goku dies pretty much like normal, and in age 767, the androids appear right after. A lot of time passes in between, and age 781 is when the time machine is finished and when they all head back in time. This comparison of the two timelines can help clear things up a little bit if it was confusing to any of you. And now we come to where this would have started off, with all of them introducing themselves. There's no need to keep their identity secret since they're all born by this time. So they explain who they are and why they're here. Everyone is understandably confused and amazed at the same time from what they've been told. Goku succumbing to some heart virus is bad enough, but eventually some androids are going to show up, and now if these 3 kids from the future survive and they head back here and Gohan has some golden hair form, they obviously have a lot of questions. And Gohan decides to ask a question that really doesn't sit well with too many people. He wants to know if they could release Vegeta, which seems like a really bad idea, but he has a reasoning behind it. He wants to learn about whatever golden hair form he has because he assumes it's something Saiyan exclusive, and Vegeta potentially could provide some insight into it. And they don't know that the 2 timelines are separate, but they assume that somehow Goku can access this form too, and pass Gohan, well maybe it'll save their future. But as we know, the timelines are separate, so that won't change anything. However, it could help future Goten access it too. They're hesitant, but they're 100% sure that this is actually Gohan, Goten, and Trunks from the future. I mean, it's especially easy to tell for Gohan since the present Gohan's right here, and Goku could recognize that these are actually his 2 sons. So he trusts them in their judgment, and they're not too scared of releasing Vegeta because they're strong enough to defeat him if need be. They go to Kami, and Kami's the only one who actually knows where Vegeta was taken. His container wasn't destroyed, but rather buried somewhere safe. Luckily, Kami's been listening in, so they don't need to explain why they want to dig up Vegeta and release him, although he is still kind of wary of it. They find the container that has Vegeta in it, and they finally do it. They release Vegeta from his containment. Vegeta is sitting there, catching his breath, not knowing what just happened. He looks around him and recognizes who these people are. They were those people he was fighting earlier on before he got sealed away. He doesn't even know how long it's been, he's just been stuck inside that container for years. If he weren't so confused, he'd be livid enough to just blow up Earth right now. Even if that were to kill him too. Vegeta does attempt to fight everyone, but they're so strong at this point in comparison to him that he can't do any damage. He even tries to attack some of the weaker ones like Yamcha, and Yamcha just blocks Vegeta's punch with one finger. Even this guy is stronger than the Prince of All Saiyans. He's pissed. He demands to know what happened to him, why everyone's so strong now, and why he's been released from this containment in the first place. And also, who are those 3 other fighters that he doesn't recognize from before? To shut Vegeta up, Gohan instantly turns Super Saiyan, and Vegeta looks at him speechless. While he hasn't seen him before, he's heard the legends. And once he finds out that this is Gohan, he knows for sure. This is it, a Super Saiyan. Vegeta is angered but also somewhat amazed that there's actually a Super Saiyan here, and he completely forgets all that anger he had before, partially out of fear but also because he has an idea now. But he doesn't ask it yet and decides to just explain to everyone what happened to Gohan. They learn what little Vegeta knows about Super Saiyan, basically what he's heard from legends about how warriors got strong enough to become one, but he didn't think it would actually happen, especially with a half-breed instead of a pure Saiyan. Vegeta is still furious, but with the offering of Super Saiyan now, he's warmed up somewhat to talking to the group rationally. He could settle the score with them later, and with everyone caught up, the group now has an option. They're definitely going to try and learn Super Saiyan for themselves, which includes future Goten, but they come up with the idea of potentially just destroying the androids before they even arrive. However, they get another proposal from Vegeta. He will offer his full alliance to everyone if they help him with something, defeating Frieza. Wait, who's Frieza? In case you couldn't tell, Frieza never showed up in the future timeline because there was no reason for him to, and Vegeta's only now just bringing him up. He describes who Frieza is and what he's done, and they're not particularly sure if they want to go help and defeat him, at least not right now when the androids are a priority. So I'm going to leave a poll here with a few options, and it involves both of these scenarios. The options are, they destroy the androids and don't go after Frieza, they destroy the androids and go after Frieza, they don't destroy the androids and don't go after Frieza, or they don't destroy the androids and they go after Frieza. Make sure to vote in the poll, because this will drastically change the story ahead. Whether or not they blow up the androids before they're activated, well, that's a pretty huge change by itself. But now that they know about this guy Frieza, that also will change everything. So if they decide to go after him, that'll have some major implications too. So make sure to vote on the poll and let me know. That's where we'll leave off this part for now. So what did you guys think about this part? And which options do you vote for and why? What do you think will happen in the next part? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. Anyways, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and let's see if we can hit that goal of 2,500 likes. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this what if, or any other videos I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.